Hey gang, Jade back with the second video in our Patchwork Medley blanket series. Today we're reworking the big Skye granny square to fit into our blanket. You may be familiar with this one, and today I'll be adjusting this one so that it works with all the other squares. I have a bit of a cold today, as you may tell with my voice, so I'm just going to share the same info about the blanket series and the yarn supplies here that I shared in the first video for the fusion square. And then we can jump into the tutorial, which thankfully I filmed before my voice got raspy. So enjoy today's square. This series was inspired by all of you and your requests about how to combine my many granny square designs together into one blanket. So I've selected 6 of my favorites and reworked them so they'll fit together perfectly. And of course, I had to add a brand new square into the lineup, so we'll have a total of 7 squares in this series. Once all the squares are complete, we'll bring them together using my join as you go method to create a cozy and eye-catching blanket, perfect for gifting or snuggling up in yourself. Before we get started, let's go over the supplies for this square. I'll be using the same 5 colors throughout all 7 squares. The colors for today's square are Botany Teal by Bernat Premium, Jade by Red Heart Super Saver, Lettuce by Red Heart with Love, Medium Thyme, that's Red Heart Super Saver again, and Almond, and that's Impeccable from Michaels. So to make the big Skye, we're going to use a 5mm crochet hook. You'll need a darning needle and a pair of scissors. So with the 5mm hook, my square will measure about 8.5 inches. All right, let's jump in and start crocheting our square for today. We're going to start with our Jade today, and we're going to make a magic ring. So we're going to wrap around our first 2 fingers, bring it back under and cross over, holding with our thumb. We're going to bring it over our 3 fingers, put your hook underneath and over the second, pull it through and give it a twist. Then you're going to go to this strand over the 3rd finger, hook it and pull it through for your first chain 1. Slide your fingers out and you have your magic ring. Round 1 starts with a chain 4. So we have 1 already on there, 2, 3, and 4. This counts as our first double crochet and our first chain space. We work a double crochet into this ring and chain 1. That's our repeat right there. Double crochet, chain 1. We want to work 11 times around, so we will end up with 12 double crochet and 12 chain 1 spaces. Double crochet, chain 1. Double crochet, chain 1, all into this ring. I'll meet you back here to finish off the round. When you've completed your last double crochet and chain 1, now we want to join our ring. So we're going to pull this cut end, placing our thumb and finger at the base of our last stitch, and we're going to pull up our ring. Nice and snug. And now we can join by going into the 3rd chain of our beginning chain 4 and slip stitch to join. That ends round number 1. I will clip my yarn about 3 to 4 inches. I'll get my darning needle, pull the yarn through, and now I will work this end in. Get that yarn onto your needle. We're going to go down into the stitch in front of where we joined and back up through the stitch that we did join. That gives it a nice little loop that secures it. And now I'm going to work it into the back loops about at least halfway around. If you want to, you can go all the way around, just as long as it's worked in nicely, because you will be working over it again on the next round. That end is finished. Now I want to work the center one in. So I'm going to pull it tight again because it will keep loosening up as long as it's not worked in. Get that one onto your darning needle. And now we're going to work our way continuing in the same direction as we did when we cinched it up, underneath the center part, and I go at least once or twice, preferably twice, in the same direction. Sometimes I'll just let that go and cut it depending on the friction that is involved here, because it really won't come out. Or if you want extra security, turn around and go back in the other direction.
but go over top of one of those loops so that you're not pulling out what you just did. This gives you a lot of security and it will not slip out. At least it hasn't for me. And then I'll cut it. And then I'll take off this one too that I just finished. We have round 1 finished and we're ready for round 2. Round number 2, we're going to be using this lettuce color. We want to join in any one of the chain spaces with a standing single crochet. You could also do a slip stitch, chain 1, single crochet. That's the old way to do it. And some people really do like that. I like standing stitches, so I will be joining with a standing single crochet, holding my yarn at the back, wrapping my yarn around, inserting into any of these chain spaces, making sure I go under the cut end, and then I complete my single crochet. Now we'll work a chain 2, working my yarn in as I go, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 2. That's your repeat. Single crochet, chain 2, working only in the chain spaces. Let's do another one. Single crochet in the next chain space, chain 2. You're going to do that all the way around. You'll have 12 single crochets and 12 chain 2 spaces. I'll meet you back here to finish off the round. We've reached the end of our round. We've done a total of 12 single crochets and 12 chain 2 spaces, and we've only worked in the chain spaces of the previous round. We want to join our round. We have chain 2 that we finished with, so now I want to slip stitch in the first single crochet of the round and fasten off 3 to 4 inches again. Get your darning needle, pull your yarn through, get the yarn onto the darning needle, and we're going to finish this in the same way, going down into the next stitch, right through the center, coming back up through the one that we just finished with. That gives you that extra little loop, and then working into the back loops only as far around as you'd like to. I go at least halfway around my circle. That gives me lots of end that's darned in, and it will be worked over top of in the next round. So I get as much on there as I can, pull it through, and then pull it all back into shape, and then clip it off. And there you have round number 2 finished, working on round 3 next. Round number 3, I'm going to be using my Botany blue color. Again, joining with a standing single crochet in any one of these chain 2 spaces around my circle. I like to join in different places because then the bulk doesn't all happen in one area. So try to go somewhere other than where you fastened off. Standing single crochet again in any of the chain 2 spaces. These standing stitches I have detailed tutorials for. I'll leave the links to all those in the description below, so that you can see a much slower version of how I make these. In this round, we're going to work a second single crochet into that same chain 2 space, then a chain 1. In our next space, 2 single crochet and a chain 1. That's the repeat right there. 2 single crochet, chain 1 in every chain space all the way around. Let's do one more. 2 single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. Keep working like that all the way around. You'll end up with 24 single crochets because there's 2 in each space and 12 chain 1 spaces. I'll meet you back here at the end of the round. When we've reached the end of our round, we should have 24 single crochet and 12 chain 1 spaces, ending with a chain 1. We're going to slip stitch in the first single crochet to end the round. Cut our yarn, Pull it through and darn it in the same way that we did with all our other ones with your darning needle. And then we'll be ready for round 3. Let's take a look at how far we've come. I have my first 3 rounds here with all the ends darned in. This is the center right here. 1, 2, 3. The next round, round 4, is going to be these double crochets done in this almond color. So a little bit different than what we did in the last 2 rounds. Let's get ready for that. So with my almond color, if you're looking at the pattern, it says chain 4, which counts as a double crochet and the first chain 1 space. The alternative to the chain 4 would be a standing double crochet and a chain 1, which is what I like to do. So if you were doing the chain 4, you would work into any one of these chain spaces, slip stitch, chain 4. But I'm going to do a standing double crochet. Standing double crochet, I hold my yarn at the back, wrap the yarn around it twice, go into any of the chain 1 spaces, but not under the cut end this time, and complete your double crochet. That's the standing double crochet. Then I chain 1. That's how we start. This would be the equivalent to a chain 4. Then we do a double crochet into this same chain space. So only working into the chain spaces again. You go under, I go under my cut end to work it in and work a double crochet. And I bring my cut end up to the top. If you want to see a slower version of me working my ends in, I do also have tutorials on that. Again, description will have the links. So here we do a chain 1. So far we've done a double crochet, a chain 1, a double crochet in the same space, and a chain 1. Now we're going to move to the next chain space, and we're going to work a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, and a chain 1. So it creates this V stitch right here, and they're separated by chain 1s in between them. So I didn't bring my yarn back up, so I'll just go back and bring that up. Talking and working my ends in apparently doesn't work very well for me. So again, I have my V stitch and my chain 1. That's the repeat right there. I'll work this round with you so you can watch what I'm doing. Next chain space, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Chain 1. Next chain space, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1. So you get the hang of that, right? You make this little V stitch, which is just double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the same chain space, and a chain 1 to divide it from the next one. You're going to work that all the way around until we get back to here. I will work it. You can watch and work along with me. Or you can skip ahead to the end of the round. And there we have it. We've worked to the end of the round. We've worked into every single one of the chain spaces. So we have 24 double crochets and 24 chain spaces. We ended with a chain 1, and we want to slip stitch in this first stitch. So because I did a standing double crochet, I will slip stitch into the top of the standing double crochet. If you did a chain 4, you will slip stitch in the 3rd chain of that beginning chain 4 to join your round. Now I will cut my yarn, pull it through, get it onto my darning needle, go down into that first stitch, come up through the stitch behind, that secures it, and then again work into the back loops as far around as you'd like to. As the circle gets bigger, you don't have to do a complete half circle like before, but you can. I say just make sure it's in there a good 3 to 4 inches. And we're ready for the next round. Round number 5, we're back to single crochet and chain spaces. We're going to work into any one of these chain spaces from the previous round, and we're going to join with a standing single crochet. Chain 2. Single crochet in the next chain space. Chain 2. That's your repeat right there. Single crochet, chain 2, work into the next chain space. So that's a nice easy round to do. We'll do a little bit more here. Single crochet in the next chain space, chain 2, single crochet in the next chain space. You're not missing any of the chain spaces. You're working into every single one of them, followed by a chain 2. Single crochet in the next chain space, chain 2. You're going to do that all the way around your circle until you get back to here where we will finish off the round together. I'm just going to skip ahead for this one because it's a very simple stitch. So here I am back at the last single crochet chain 1 and I'm ready to join my round. I have 24 single crochets and 24 chain 2 spaces. I'm going to slip stitch in my first single crochet to join my round, cut my yarn, get the yarn onto my needle, and work it in the same way I've worked all the other ones. I find this square very relaxing because the rounds are all so similar and so simple to do. Round 5 is complete. We're ready for round 6. Round 6, I'm using my Jade again. And you'll recognize this round as well. We're going to be doing 2 single crochet in any one of these chain 1 spaces and then a chain 1 in between. That will be the complete repeat. So let's get started on that. I'm going to join with a standing single crochet in any one of these chain 2 spaces and work a second single crochet in the same space, chain 1. That's it right there. 2 single crochet in a chain space, chain 1. Next chain 2 space, 2 single crochet, chain 1. Next one, 2 single crochet, chain 1. There's your repeat. That's going to go all the way around. It's exactly like round 3. So you've done this one before. You're going to work all the way around until you get back to here, and we will finish this off together, and I'm going to jump ahead and I'll meet you here. We've come all the way back around to here. We are now ready to join our round. We have 48 single crochets and 24 chain 1 spaces. Join with a slip stitch in that first single crochet. Cut your yarn. Pull it through. Work that end in, and we're ready for the next round. Let's take a look at where we're going with this. we've done the first 6 rounds. So let's bring our piece in. And you can see there's the first 6 rounds. We have rounds 7 and 8 still to do in the circular. Then we're going to square off for our final 3 rounds. This next round, number 7, is going to be different than the original Big Skye. Not a lot different, but a little. And what I've learned from working my squares is that sometimes you have to adjust based on how you crochet or based on what yarn you're using. In the old version, these V-stitches had chain spaces in between them. In this new version, I'm leaving those chain spaces out. So I am working these V-stitches with the chain 1, but I'm leaving the chain 1 that used to be in between them out. So the reason for that is I was finding this square was flaring out. It was getting very wonky on the corners. To address that problem, sometimes you have to pull in somewhere in an earlier round. And where I felt I could do it was in this round. So I'm actually eliminating 24 chain spaces, and that pulls my circle in, and that then pulls my square corners in, and now they lay flat. You just have to go with whatever works for you. In this particular version, it was making my squares wonky because I was adding a few more rounds out here. So that was how I was pulling it in and eliminating that wonky corner issue. Round number 7, we're ready to get started and we want our lettuce. This round is just like round number 4, but as I mentioned, we're going to leave out these chain spaces in between the sets. So knowing how we started this one, we're going to start it exactly the same way. You can either chain 4, which counts as your double crochet and your first chain 1 space, or you can work a standing double crochet and a chain 1, which is what I'm going to do. So a standing double crochet in any one of these chain spaces and a chain 1 to get us started. Then we're going to work a double crochet in the same chain space. This is the point at which this round changes from the original version. You would normally put a chain 1 in next, but I'm going to eliminate that. So no chain 1 after this second double crochet. We're going right into a double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, and double crochet. So that creates our V-stitch. You have a little V-stitch here with a chain 1 in the middle. No chain 1. We're going to go right into the next double crochet. So I just went back here so that I can work my end in because I always forget to bring it up to the top. And there we have our V-stitch finished. Double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, and a double crochet. Bringing my yarn up. Double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, and double crochet in that same chain space. So you get the idea of what we're doing here. We are going V-stitch and no chain spaces in between. We're just going right to the next V-stitch. So V-stitch right after V-stitch. And a V-stitch is just a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the same space, so it creates a V. Let's do a few more. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the next chain space. Next one, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Go right to the next one, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. You're getting the idea? Exactly the same as this round, except you're eliminating the chain spaces in between the V-stitches. So continue following that. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in each chain space all the way around until you end up back here. I'm going to let you work it on your own, and I'm going to jump ahead and meet you back here to finish off the round. We've worked all the way around and we are back here to join our round. We worked our last V-stitch and we want to slip stitch in the top of our standing double crochet or in the third chain of your beginning chain 4 to join our round. Cut your yarn pull it through, and then you're going to darn your end in the way that you always do. So let's take a look at this now. You can see it lies nice and flat, which is what you want it to do. It can even pull in a little because our squaring round is going to add extra fabric and you don't want that to flare out. We have one more round to do circularly before we hit the squaring. Our next round we'll be using Almond, and it's a nice simple round. It is all single crochet, chain 1 all the way around. So we'll join in any one of these chain spaces. We'll do it with a standing single crochet and a chain 1. Now what you're going to do is work a single crochet in this gap, I call it, between the two V-sets. So right in here, there is no chain space there, but you're still going to work into that. And you're going to do a single crochet and a chain 1. Then we're going to go back and work into the next chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1. So you're only working single crochet, chain 1 all the way around, but you are working into the chain space and then you're working into the gap. So the next one is a gap. Right in between those two sets, there is no chain space there at this point, and chain 1. Single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the gap between the two V-sets. So in between these two double crochets, there's a gap there. I call it a gap because it's not a chain space. It's just a space in between the stitches. And then chain 1. Let's just take a look here. So we started in chain space, single crochet, chain 1. Then we worked in between these two double crochets in this space in between, single crochet, chain 1. That's the repeat. Single crochet in the chain space, chain 1, single crochet in the space between these two, which I call the gap, and then chain 1. And you're going to do that again. You're going to work that all the way around till you get back to here. I'm not going to work this one with you because it's a very simple stitch. I'll let you work it on your own and I'll meet you back here. So we've worked our way all the way around. We are back here to finish off this round. We have 48 single crochet and 48 chain 1 spaces. We're going to slip stitch in our first single crochet to end the round, clipping our yarn and working it in just like we did with all the other ones. So we have our circle finished. Let's take a look at the finished square. Here you can see the circle part that we've finished here. And now we're going to do our squaring. We have 3 rounds left and all 3 rounds are going to be the same color. So we're going to use this Botany blue. The first round is going to be your squaring round, and then the next 2 rounds will just be single crochet chain 1s that are going to bring your square out to the right size. Our next round is number 9, and we're going to be using our Botany blue, and we're going to start the squaring. So starting in any one of these chain 1s, it doesn't matter what one. So in the pattern, I have chain 5, which represents your first treble and your chain 1, or you could do a standing treble, which I haven't shown you a standing treble yet in here. So just like the standing double crochet is twice around the hook, standing treble is 3 times around the hook. Then you go into any one of the chain spaces and not under the cut end. Leave that off to the side, but hold on to it so it doesn't go flying. And work your standing treble. So 2, 2, and 2. Got a nice long treble here. There's your cut end over here. And then you're going to do a chain 1. This is our first treble, and chain 1 could also be done with a chain 5. Now I'm going to work another treble into this same space. So I go round twice when I do a treble. So I actually do the cut end around it the second time. And then I work my cut end in to my treble stitch. And then a chain 1. So we have a starting treble stitch, a chain 1, a treble in the same chain space, and a chain 1. Next stitch will be a double crochet in the next chain space and a chain 1. There are going to be chain 1s between every stitch that we're doing on this round. Next stitch will be a double crochet again into the next chain space and a chain 1. Next stitch will be a half double crochet in the next chain space and a chain 1. So let's just look again at what we've started with. Treble, chain 1, treble in the same chain space, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet. So each of these were in their own chain spaces, and the first 2 trebles were, this is part of the corner. So we have a chain 1 here. Now we're going to do single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. And you're going to do that 4 more times, 1 per chain space. So single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and 1 more single crochet and a chain 1. So you're going to have 5 single crochets and 5 chain 1s. So this works us from the corner across our edge, and now we're going to form our next corner over here, ending with that chain 1. So we're going to do a half double crochet in the next chain space. Oops, make sure you go in the chain space. Chain 1, double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, and now we're going to form our next corner. The corner is going to be a treble, chain 1, treble, chain 3, treble, chain 1, treble, all into this chain space. That's a lot into this chain space. So let's get working on that. Treble into the chain space, chain 1, another treble, same chain space, chain 3, treble into the same chain space, chain 1, and 1 more treble into that same chain space, chain 1. So you have 4 stitches into that chain space with a chain 3 corner. So this is what we've done so far. You've worked from this corner all the way up, shaping as you go to the next corner. Now we're going to work across the next edge. So I'm going to work you through this entire round. We ended with our corner and a chain 1. Next stitch will be a double crochet in the next chain space. Chain 1. Double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, and a half double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. Now we're going to do our 5 single crochets with chain 1s in between across this flat part. We're creating a flat edge, so single crochet, chain 1, and then do that 4 more times so that you end up with 5 single crochet and 5 chain 1s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochet, and there's a chain 1 between each of them. Half double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. We are now on to our next corner. See how we're working our way around? Let's take a look here. We worked up this edge, corner, across this edge, and we're working another corner. We're going to continue down, and we have 1 more corner here, across here, and we'll finish the second half of this corner. So I'm going to keep working this so you can watch me and you can work along with me. Let's keep going. We're going to work a treble into the next chain space, chain 1, another treble, chain 3. Treble into that same chain space, chain 1, and another treble, chain 1. That was our corner. Working across our next edge, double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, half double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. Now we're going to work 5 single crochet and chain 1s into the next 5 spaces. So single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet, chain 1. So there's 5 of them there, and chain 1 spaces. On to the next corner shaping, half double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. Double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. Double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. And now we're going to work our treble corner. Treble in the next chain space, chain 1, and a treble again. Chain 3, treble again in the same chain space, chain 1, and a treble. Chain 1. I am saying chain 1 a lot on this round because there are chain 1s between every stitch. Final edge. Double crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. Double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, chain 1, always into the next chain space. 5 single crochet, chain 1 into each of the next 5 spaces. Trying not to say chain 1 too many times. There's 5 of them there. And we're working down to our last part of the corner here. Half double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in this last chain space right here, chain 1, and we're going to work the second half of the corner into the same space we joined in. So a treble goes in there, chain 1, and another treble, and chain 3. And we're right back to where we started, and at this point we want to slip stitch in the top of that treble, or if you did the chain 5, in the 4th chain of your beginning chain 5. Slip stitch to join, and do not cut your yarn because we are going to work the next 2 rounds with the same color. Let's just take a look. We have squared off this first round, pulling in the one that's finished. The next 2 single crochet chain 1 rounds even out the square, because as you can see here, the corners look a little wonky and they just need some evening out. With the next 2 rounds, it'll just square the whole thing right out nice and even. So the next 2 rounds, round 10 and round 11, are fairly simple rounds because they are all single crochet chain 1s and you already have the chain spaces set up for you. So there isn't anything other than just working into the chain spaces with a single crochet and chain 1. But let's work it through. We slip stitched in this first treble, and because we want to work in chain spaces only, we have to slip stitch into that first chain space. Now we're ready to work. Chain 1, single crochet in that same chain space you just slipped into, chain 1. Single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1. And that's what you're going to do all the way across to the corner. Single crochet in the chain spaces and chain 1. We'll work like this until we reach the next corner. When we've reached the next corner, we want to do a single crochet, chain 2 single crochet into this chain 3 space. And that's going to be our corner. So here's our first edge right here. Single crochets and chain 1s all the way across. You currently have 14 single crochets and 14 chain 1 spaces. And then you have the corner, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Turn your work and let's work down the next edge the exact same way. Chain 1, single crochet in the first chain space. Chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space, and continue until you reach the next corner. So when we've reached our next corner, we will do a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Taking a look back, now we have a full edge here. Outside of the corners, we have 14 single crochets and 15 chain spaces. and then the corners are single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. We have this edge to work with a corner, and then you're going to work your way across this edge and the corner, just like we've done already. Single crochet, chain 1 across. In the corner, you do the single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and repeat it again, and work the corner, and I will meet you back here where we will finish off this round and get ready to start the next one. So we worked our last corner here, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Now I want to chain 1, and here's our first single crochet here. I want to slip stitch into that stitch to finish the round. Still not cutting off our yarn though, because I have one more round to do, and it is exactly the same as the one we just did. Let's take a look at our square. You can see how now the corners are starting to get a little sharper and the square's taking its shape nicely. We have one more round. The reason I'm doing one more round is because I need to bring it out to the right size, which is 8.5 inches. And I also need to have the right number of chain spaces on the final round that works with all the other squares. So we're ready to work round 11. We slip stitched here. Again, I want to be working in chain spaces only. So I will slip stitch into the next chain space, chain 1, and single crochet into that same chain space. That gets me started. Chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, and continue across your edge until you reach the corner. When we reach the corner, we do single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into that chain 2 corner space to turn for the next edge. So we worked across our first edge and into a corner. We're going to continue the same along this edge and then into the corner, this edge, into the corner, and this edge and into the corner. So 3 more times. I'll meet you back at this corner and we will finish off this last part together. Once we've worked this corner just before where we started the round, we want to make our way over to this part right here to end it by chain 1, single crochet in the next chain space, chain 1, and we are there. Slip stitch into that first single crochet, and now we can cut our yarn and darn it in, same way that we always have been. And let's take a look here at our final piece. So you can see it's squared out nicely. It measures what it needs to. It should be 8.5. Yep. There we go there, 8.5. And it gives nice corners, and this isn't even blocked. So I could block this square to really bring it out nicely, but it's nice just the way that it is. Often when I'm using join as you go, I don't block the squares because the join as you go crochet method kind of pulls all the squares to where they need to be. So enjoy the square, and I'll see you next time with the next square of our Patchwork Blanket Medley series. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any of my upcoming tutorials. Happy crocheting, and I'll see you soon.